Hello everyone, welcome to the Assam economy discussion. Today in this particular video, I am going to take a topic related to Assam economy. आज का हमारा जो topic है, this is the Assam budget 2024-25. So today we are going to discuss the new budget of Assam government, that is this year का 2024-25 budget. So now Assam budget is an important document to understand the Assam economy, क्योंकि फिस्कल पॉलिसी, ये जो असम गवर्नमेंट का फिस्कल पॉलिसी है, वो फिस्कल पॉलिसी नॉर्मली बजट के द्वारा गवर्नमेंट अनाउंस करते हैं. तो असम इकोनॉमी समझने में हमें असम का टैक्सेशन, गवर्नमेंट को कहाँ से इनकम मिलता है, गवर्नमेंट का एक्सपेंडिचर क्या होते हैं, गवर्नमेंट का फाइनेंशियल सिचुएशन कैसा है, ये सब चीज़ समझने के लिए असम बजट और असम का फिस्कल पॉलिसी को समझना है. और एग्जाम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू में भी इसी में से क्वेश्चन आते हैं. सो नाउ इफ यू लुक एट इट हियर, बेसिकली व्हाट इज द बजट, बजट का कॉन्सेप्ट क्या होता है. नॉर्मली वी से बजट इज द एनुअल फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट. सो जैसा प्राइवेट कंपनी उनका बैलेंस शीट बनाते हैं, वैसा गवर्नमेंट भी क्या बनाते हैं, अपना एनुअल फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट बनाते हैं. ये जो एनुअल फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट है, नॉर्मली इसको हम क्या बोलते हैं, द बजट. तो इस एनुअल फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट में गवर्नमेंट हमें क्या बताते हैं, व्हाट डू दे टेल अस. सो दे नॉर्मली टेल अस टू थिंग्स. वन इज व्हाट वी कॉल गवर्नमेंट्स रिसीप्ट, अदरवाइज व्हाट वी कॉल द सोर्स ऑफ मनी. गवर्नमेंट को कहाँ से रेवेन्यू मतलब पैसा, मनी मिलता है, दैट इज व्हाट वी कॉल रिसिप्ट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट. ऑन द अदर साइड वी हैव गवर्नमेंट्स एक्सपेंडिचर. गवर्नमेंट का जो पैसा टैक्स के या नॉन टैक्स के द्वारा मिलता है, वो गवर्नमेंट कहाँ खर्च करते हैं, वेयर इज द एक्सपेंडिचर ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट गोइंग. सो दिस रिसिप्ट एंड एक्सपेंडिचर ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट is generally is what is given in the budget. So what is the basic concept of budget? Budget is the annual financial statement of the government. It could be central government या state government. इस budget में basically we get to see government's receipt and government's expenditure. So this analysis of receipt and expenditure and the data presented in that, उसको हम जनरली क्या बोलते हैं, द बजट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट. तो एपीएससी एग्जाम में, यूपीएससी एग्जाम में पहले ये सवाल आया था, हु प्रिपेयर्स द बजट ऑफ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, नॉट असम गवर्नमेंट, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया. उसका आंसर होता था पहले द डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ इकोनॉमिक अफेयर. समझ लो अगर वही सवाल असम का कॉन्टेक्स्ट में पूछते हैं, हु फॉर्मुलेट्स द बजट इन असम, what will be the answer? It is very simple. The budget of Assam is prepared by the finance department, which comes under the Ministry of Finance in Assam. Okay, so that is how the budget has been prepared. Also in APSC you see we have a services, what we call Assam Financial Services. So if you get that post, you will also be somewhere or the other involved in the budget making process of the government. Okay, now coming to some factual details about the Assam budget. The Assam budget is generally prepared, as I told you, by the finance department, that is the budget division. Now, who presented the first ever budget of Assam? I mean before independence. Independence के पहले असम गवर्नमेंट का पहला बजट किसने प्रेजेंट किया? So there we have a Maulavi Syed Sir Mohammad Sadullah. So this name, just as a GK, you should remember, the first ever budget was presented before independence in 1937. And after independence, who presented the first budget of Assam? I mean independent India का असम का पहला बजट किसने प्रेजेंट किया? There we have a late Bishnuram Medhi presented the budget, that is in 1948. Clear? So these two are like जनरल नॉलेज क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम प्रीलिम्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, आपको थोड़ा इसमें ध्यान देना पड़ेगा। नाउ कम टू द बजट एनालिसिस। हाउ डू वी नॉर्मली डिवाइड द बजट? Budget, as I told you, basically discusses about government ka receipt and government ka expenditure. Now, when we talk about government receipt, there are two types of receipts. The first one is what we call government's revenue receipt. In the revenue receipt is where we talk about taxes of the government, right? That means direct tax, indirect tax, non-tax, all that comes under what we call the revenue receipt of the government. Okay. Now, another type of receipt also government को पैसा इसमें मिलता है. This is what we call capital receipt. Therefore, budget normally has a two classification. एक बजट को हम बोलते हैं रेवेन्यू बजट, दूसरा बजट को हम बोलते हैं कैपिटल बजट. So therefore budget is divided into revenue budget and capital budget, and so we have a revenue receipt and capital receipt. Is this clear? Very simple concepts to keep in mind when we talk about budget. Now let's look at the revenue receipts ka detail. Now we are asking the basic question, असम गवर्नमेंट को ये रेवेन्यू रिसिप्ट में कहां से पैसा मिलता है, मतलब what are the sources of income to the government of Assam? That is a simple question. तो इसका आंसर होगा नंबर 1, Assam government gets its own taxes. That means what? स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का खुद का जो टैक्सेस होते हैं उसको हम क्या बोलते हैं? स्टेट्स ओन टैक्सेस. Now what type of taxes? Normally we have direct tax and indirect tax. So the direct and indirect taxes are which are imposed by the government of Assam, उसको हम बोलते हैं स्टेट का ओन टैक्सेस. Second source of revenue to the state government, it is called non-tax revenue. That means what? Other than tax, कहाँ से असम गवर्नमेंट को रेवेन्यू मिलता है? That is called non-tax revenue. Number 3, शेयर इन सेंट्रल टैक्सेस. मतलब क्या है? देर आर सम टैक्सेस जो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट इंपोज करते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल कॉर्पोरेट टैक्स, इनकम टैक्स, व्हाट वी कैन से IGST एक्सेट्रा. तो ये जो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का जो टैक्सेस होते हैं उसी में भी असम गवर्नमेंट को उसका शेयर मिलता है. दैट इज व्हाट वी कॉल शेयर इन सेंट्रल टैक्सेस. एंड पॉइंट नंबर 4, the fourth source of revenue to state government, this is called grants in aid. Now what is the grant in aid? It is the money freely given by central government to the state government. इसको हम क्या बोलते हैं? grant in aid. Okay, so now look at it together, all the four together. असम गवर्नमेंट को रेवेन्यू कहां से मिलता है? There are four sources. नंबर 1, व्हाट वी से स्टेट का खुद का टैक्सेस, स्टेट का नॉन टैक्स रेवेन्यू, स्टेट का शेयर इन सेंट्रल टैक्सेस एंड ग्रांट इन एड. These four become what we can say the sources of revenue to the government of Assam. So now we will take one by one. All the four we will discuss together. If you look at Assam government's economic survey, they have given the same classification how to understand the revenue of the government. So number 1, what do we find here? The same what I told you, tax revenue. Number 2, what do you find here? Non-tax revenue. And number 3, what do you find here? Share in central taxes. And number 4, what do we call? Grant. Earlier grant were divided plan and non-plan. अभी तो planning commission नहीं है. There are no 5-year plan also. So now they call it just grant. There is no more separation of plan and non-plan. Now it is all just called grant. So these are the four sources of revenue या income to government of Assam. So look at it here. What are the tax revenue? That means state का खुद का टैक्सेस जो हम बोले थे असम गवर्नमेंट को अपना ही टैक्स का द्वारा इनकम मिलता है. What are they? So the tax revenue, this is the number 1 in our discussion, what I told you. So which are the sources? Assam government को कहाँ से मिलता है पैसा? Number 1 we have direct tax. Direct tax में remember agricultural income tax, it comes under the state list. That means who is supposed to collect the agricultural income tax? It should be the state government. But temporarily Assam government now is not collecting agricultural income tax. Okay, so the number 1 is agricultural income tax. Number 2, tax on profession, what we normally call it as a profession tax. Like when you register, like you become a say teacher in a college or a recognized school, for teaching profession they cut a tax from your monthly salary. Same if you are a doctor, lawyer, whatever, these registered professionals, they have to pay what we call profession tax, that is called tax on profession, trade, calling, etc. Number 3 also Assam government collects, this you may be familiar, what we call land revenue. Okay, so the land revenue also comes under direct tax. Then we have stamp duty and registration, like registration of business and any type of different types of registration for which we have to buy the stamp paper. So that is what we call stamp duty and registration. Then we have a motor vehicle tax. So if you look at it, all these form one source of income to the government of Assam. This is what we call the direct taxes of government of Assam. So normally what happens when we ask the student what are the direct taxes of Assam government, they say income tax, corporate tax. It is wrong, because income tax, corporate tax, these are collected by central government. So you should know exactly which are the direct taxes collected by government of Assam. Okay, so to make it simple, I have given you this list, have a good look at it. Similarly Assam government का indirect taxes भी होते हैं. Now that you know that India में now we are following GST, so most of the indirect taxes are GST के अंदर चला गया, right? लेकिन कुछ कुछ आइटम अभी भी GST के बाहर है. For example, alcoholic liquor is permanently out of GST. Then we have a excise duty, okay, which are like petroleum, crude, natural gas, aviation, turbine fuel, these are all outside the GST. इसका मतलब क्या है? इन आइटम्स के ऊपर स्टेट गवर्नमेंट कैन स्टिल पुट अ टैक्स, indirect tax. So if you look at it here, we have a sales tax, that is what we call state ka VAT, like alcoholic liquor or petrol, diesel, all that can be. Then state government ka excise duty. Therefore in APSC we have a 2 posts. What are the 2 posts? Excise ka one is called superintendent of excise, second one is called inspector of excise. So that is where this one comes, state excise duty. Excise duty is basically a tax on production. Okay, that is the meaning of excise duty. Then we have a passengers and goods tax, which includes entry tax. Now this entry tax of the state government has gone into GST. Okay, then state government also had what we call entertainment tax. These are what we can say some sources of indirect taxes to the state government, but some of these like entertainment tax, these are all gone into GST. Clear now? So one thing आपको थोड़ा ध्यान में देखना पड़ेगा, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ असम का रेवेन्यू कहाँ से आता है, that is the tax revenue. We have to divide it into direct tax as well as indirect tax. That is the first point that I wanted to discuss with you. Clear? Now let us go to part number 2. Part 2, if you look at it here, just to make it clear, we have discussed this one so far, number 1. Now let's go to number 2, non-tax revenue. So which are the non-tax revenue of the Assam government? Number 1, fee for government services. मतलब whatever government का services are provided, like we go to various places, like suppose you visit a museum, there you have to buy ticket. That means what? You are paying fee. You are going to the zoo, yeah, you are parking your vehicle, yeah, you are go to DC office for some work, there they say you have to pay fee. So these are what we call fee for government services, which Assam government divides into economic services, social services, etc. Okay, that is the first one. Number two, you are familiar, fine या penalty collected by government. So when you break the law, yeah, you know anything late fee payment, all that, there is a fine, yeah, penalty. That is also source of income, but these are non-tax. Number three, dividend. What is the dividend? Dividend means suppose if government of Assam has purchased the share of some company, when that company makes a profit, उस company का profit से some small amount of money will be given to government of Assam. क्यों? क्योंकि Assam government becomes the shareholder of the company. For example, Assam government currently has 26% share of Numaligarh. Okay, Numaligarh factory. So what happens? Suppose if Numaligarh factory makes a profit, Assam government will get some income from that. That is what we call dividend. Okay, so dividend is another source of income to the government. Basically, it is a non-tax revenue. Rest is simple. Interest received by government. This also grant in aid given by central government. Okay, and gifts given by anybody to the government. And another category which is very important in the non-tax revenue, royalty on petroleum, crude, gas, coal, etc. This is the very large component of revenue under the non-tax revenue category. The last one, royalty on petroleum, crude, etc. Okay, so now the question is, Assam government receives money from taxes as well as non-tax. Is this clear? So now if you look at it here, they have given some of this classification. These are the taxes collected by Assam government. Okay, so these are the tax revenue, taxes on income and expenditure, taxes on commodity services, taxes on property, capital transaction, and goods and services tax. Then non-tax revenue, if you look at the Assam government official publication, from where do they get non-tax revenue? Same thing what I explained to you. The major component is what we call royalty on petroleum, crude. Also they get royalty on what we call coal, natural gas, etc. Then we have interest and dividend and forest produce, whatever collected. So these are what we call non-tax revenue, but non-tax revenue, it's just a small amount of money Assam government receives. Okay, when compared to taxes. So this is a very small amount. So now if you look at it here, this is the non-tax revenue ka total figure in budget 2024-25. That is 8,871 crore is the total money Assam government projected to receive from non-tax revenue. Clear? So if you compare non-tax with the tax, taxes they have put 74,148 crore, that is the tax collection, that is the budget 24-25, but in the non-tax it is only 8,000. So where is 74,000 and 8,000? You know, therefore tax collection is greater than the non-tax collection. It simply comes to conclusion, असम गवर्नमेंट को कहां से ज्यादा रेवेन्यू मिलता है, फ्रॉम द टैक्स और नॉन टैक्स? आंसर इज क्लियर, द मैक्सिमम रेवेन्यू असम गवर्नमेंट गेट्स बिटवीन दिस टू, टैक्स एंड नॉन टैक्स, it will be tax revenue. It is clear? Okay. Now if you look at it, number 3, the third source of revenue to Assam government, what we said, it is the share of central taxes. मतलब सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का जो भी टैक्सेस है उस टैक्सेस से भी असम गवर्नमेंट को थोड़ा शेयर मिलता है. नाउ व्हाट आर दिस type of taxes. So if you look at the Assam government ka FRBM statement 2024-25, Assam government has given this detail. Okay, so which are the taxes from where Assam government gets a share from central government? According to the FRBM statement, that is the income tax, corporate tax, wealth tax, union excise duty, customs duty, service tax to now gone into GST. So they have given here, after introduction of GST, the two major components, that is the central goods and services tax CGST and IGST, okay, that is the integrated goods and services tax, have been added to this head. Okay, so now Assam government therefore as a third source of income, that is the taxes collected by center, वहां से state government को भी share मिलता है. So that is what they have given here. 2017-18, 18-19 में कितना actually Assam government को मिला है, right? So this is the third source of income या revenue to the state government. The same thing you will find it in different publication of Assam government. This is the latest economic survey. You will find the same thing. Income tax, corporate tax, wealth tax, excise duty, custom duty. It is like they have just same text, copy paste here and there. So if you look at Assam economic survey, Assam budget, Assam FRBM act, all three you will find the same text. So I tried to find from different sources, but I found everything is same only. There is not much difference, right? So I am showing you the other one also. State finances also you will find here same. Central goods and services tax, integrated tax, corporation tax, income tax, that is other than corporation, then customs, excise, service tax. So these are the categories under which Assam government has been receiving money from the central government ka share. Is this clear? So this is the third source. Now let's go to number 4. What is the fourth source of income to Assam government? The fourth source जो मैंने आपको पहले ही explain किया था, it is called grant in aid. Now what is grant in aid? Grant in aid बोलने से this is the free money जो central government state government को freely देते हैं. It is like a gift given to state. Like for example समझ लीजिए असम में फ्लड आ गया, there is a damage हो गया, तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट क्या करते हैं 500 करोड़ या 1000 करोड़ डिपेंडिंग ऑन डैमेज, दे विल फ्रीली गिव इट टू स्टेट. दैट मनी उसको हम क्या बोलते हैं? ग्रांट इन एड. ठीक है, तो ये जो ग्रांट इन एड है, पहले गवर्नमेंट ने क्या किया था, ये ग्रांट इन एड को अलग अलग कैटेगरी से दिया था. व्हाट वी कैन से द plan purpose, non-plan purpose, etc. So we had a grant for a plan, non-plan, etc. आजकल plan, non-plan नहीं होता है. Grants come from central government to state government, either from finance commission का recommendation, जो grant finance commission बोलता है. For example, revenue deficit grant, okay, which is given to state, grant to the local government, and disaster risk management grant, then state का sector specific grant and state specific grant. There are 5 types of grants the finance commission, that is the 15th finance commission, has recommended to state. Okay, I repeat, because this you should know. When you say state government receives grant, what are the types of grants recommended by 15th finance commission? I repeat once again. Number 1 is revenue deficit grant. Number 2, local body, that is called local government grant. Number 3, disaster risk management grant. Number 4, state specific grant. Number 5, sector specific grant. So these 5 grants are given through the finance commission by the central government to state. Other than this, central government also gives grant to state under what we call centrally sponsored scheme. Other than that, central government may also give money to state government for some projects. Clear? So these are what we call the grant from central government. Clear now? So you can pause the video, have a look at all this. But anyway, I have explained to you, same thing. Centrally sponsored scheme, finance commission grant, etc. Clear? So you should know now basically what is the Assam government का finance. Assam government को कहाँ से income मिलता है? So as I told you, these are the 4 major sources. So let us do the revision. Which are the 4 sources? Number 1, state government का खुद का taxes, direct and indirect. Number 2, state government का non-tax revenue. Number 3, state government का share from central government का taxes. And number 4 is what we discussed, grant in aid from the central government. These are the 4 sources of revenue to Assam government, which comes under, generally we can put it as the revenue receipt. So far clear? So now let's look at the budget. Budget 2024-25 में they have given a very nice chart. Now let's put this chart into some analytical context. I told you government को 4 sources of income होते हैं from the one budget, that is the revenue budget. Capital budget हम लोग अभी start नहीं किया. Revenue budget, okay. So which are they? So if you see here, number 1, this is called state का own taxes. How much? They have put it here, 34,149, right? Then we have a non-tax, 8,871. Then we have a share of central taxes, that is how much? 40,000, right? So earlier this 40 plus 34 together government showed it as a 74, right? Then centrally sponsored scheme. Now this is number 1, number 2, number 3. This will be actually number 4. That is all come under grant. Centrally sponsored scheme, finance commission grant and other grant. Actually all this we can put it under the 4th category. So number 1, 2, 3 and these 4, they all we can say are the revenue receipts of the state government. Whereas number 7 and 8, this is what we call capital budget, which we will start now, capital budget. Okay, once again I am repeating, number 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the 4 categories under which I just now आपको explain किया है state government को income कहाँ से मिलता है, right? Then we will go to capital receipt. That is simple. This is the recovery of loan and that is the money borrowed by state government, what we call public debt. So now let's go to the capital budget. So far we discussed the 4 sources under the revenue. Now let's look at the capital receipt. As I showed you in this diagram, there are basically 2 things what we can say. One is what we can say recovery of loan. मतलब क्या है, जब स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने कुछ साल के पहले किसी को तो लोन दिया था, अभी वो लोन वापस आ रहा है, that is what we call recovery of loan. It is clear? This is what we generally call it as a recovery of loan. And what is this one? Borrowing from various sources. This is what we saw in the diagram here, concept of public debt. This is the recovery of loan. This is the borrowing. Clear? So these 2 entries, recovery of loan and borrowing from various sources, these 2 come under what we call capital budget ka capital receipt. Clear now? So understanding Assam government budget या Assam government का finance is very easy. You just follow the way I explained to you. It should be very easy to understand the budget because all the budget का details I explained to you, how it is, what category it goes into. Okay? So these are what we can say the sources of income to government of Assam. But remember, this borrowed money, borrowing, it is not income because this is called debt. Debt means what? It is borrowed money. It is not income. Whereas recovery of loan, this is a income to the government because that money has come back. It is a source of income. सो नाउ लुक एट इट हियर, असम गवर्नमेंट को कहां से ज्यादा पैसा मिलता है, रेवेन्यू रिसिप्ट या कैपिटल रिसिप्ट? सो द आंसर इज असम गवर्नमेंट को मैक्सिमम कहां से मिलता है, रेवेन्यू रिसिप्ट में, मतलब रेवेन्यू बजट में ज्यादा पैसा मिलता है, कैपिटल रिसिप्ट में कम पैसा मिलता है। दिस इज गिवन इन बजट 2024-25। सो एग्जाम में ऐसा जब क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, बी केयरफुल, असम गवर्नमेंट को रेवेन्यू रिसिप्ट में ज्यादा पैसा मिलता है, कैपिटल रिसिप्ट में कम पैसा मिलता है। क्लियर नाउ? Now if you look at APSC 2015, they asked this question, which is the most important source of income for government of India? अभी ऐसा भी सवाल आ सकता है, इंडिया को निकाल के इधर हम असम डाल सकते, like which is the most important source of income to government of Assam? So option तो obviously change होगा, but you should be able to answer from where Assam government is getting maximum. So if you look at it here, असम गवर्नमेंट को मैक्सिमम कहां से मिलता है, दिस वन, शेयर ऑफ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का टैक्सेस, दैट इज 40,000 करोड़। दिस इज द हाईएस्ट एज पर ऑल द फिगर्स आर कंसर्न। सो दिस इज वेयर असम गवर्नमेंट गेट्स मैक्सिमम रेवेन्यू। दैट मीन्स सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट जो टैक्स कलेक्ट करते हैं उसी में से असम को जो शेयर मिलता है, दैट इज द मैक्सिमम इनकम टू असम गवर्नमेंट। इट इज क्लियर नाउ? सो सी दिस इज हाउ प्रीलिम्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू में वी हैव टू थिंक, क्वेश्चन कैसे भी आने से आंसर हम कैसा दे सकते हैं। ओके, सो दिस काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चन एपीएससी में पहले भी पूछे थे, लाइक गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया अर्न्स मैक्सिमम रेवेन्यू फ्रॉम वेयर, सम ऑप्शंस आर गिवन। सो सेम वे स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का भी ऐसा क्वेश्चन आपको आ सकता है, मतलब यू शुड बी प्रिपेयर्ड यू नो फॉर दिस काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चंस। नाउ वी गो टू द second part of budget. I told you budget में there are two parts. One is the money received, second is money spent, expenditure. So far हमने receivable का देखा, now we look at the expenditure. जैसा रिसिप्ट का दो कैटेगरी होता है, रेवेन्यू रिसिप्ट एंड कैपिटल रिसिप्ट, क्योंकि देयर आर दो बजट होते हैं, रेवेन्यू एंड कैपिटल बजट, वैसा ही एक्सपेंडिचर का भी दो टाइप्स होते हैं, सिंपल एज दैट, रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर एंड कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर। सो जैसा रिसिप्ट का रेवेन्यू एंड कैपिटल, एक्सपेंडिचर का भी रेवेन्यू एंड कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर। क्लियर नाउ? दिस इज वेरी वेरी इजी टू कीप इन माइंड। Now what is the revenue expenditure of government, any government, not only Assam, central government या Assam government और मेघालय government, मणिपुर government, सबका definition तो एक ही होता है। What is the meaning of revenue expenditure? In India, our budget if you see, revenue expenditure जो है, इसके द्वारा state government या central government का क्या होते हैं, कैपिटल असेट नहीं बनता है। सो रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर के द्वारा गवर्नमेंट का कुछ कैपिटल असेट, मतलब क्या है, प्रॉपर्टी नहीं बनता है। लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, असम गवर्नमेंट ने किसी को तो सैलरी दिया, या किसी को पेंशन दिया, या किसी को सब्सिडी में पैसा दिया, इसी में गवर्नमेंट को क्या प्रॉपर्टी बनेगा, कुछ प्रॉपर्टी नहीं बनता है। सो एनी एक्सपेंडिचर विच डज नॉट create capital asset, that expenditure is called revenue expenditure. Clear now? This is the definition of revenue expenditure. So now look at it here, the revenue expenditure, as I put it here for your understanding, it does not result, matlab create, what we call creation of any capital assets. So they are called revenue expenditure. What are the revenue expenditure? Generally, they are for running the government ka departments. Like we have a irrigation department, health department, police department, education department. You know, there are so many departments. तो ये हर department को हर दिन चलाना है. We have to run this department. उसके लिए जो basic expenditure है, their salary, electricity, this, that, all that. They are all come under what category? Revenue expenditure. Okay, so now what are the items that come under revenue expenditure? I have made a list here. So look at the revenue expenditure and we'll compare it with capital expenditure. So what are the revenue expenditure? So number one, we have salary. Number two, interest paid by government. Number three, subsidy given by government. What is the subsidy? Subsidy is a financial help given by government to anybody. Like for example, if you are going for education, you are not able to pay the fee. Government क्या बोलता है? You go to government school या government college, you pay only less amount of fee. That means what? Your education ka expenditure is paid by government. That is what we call education subsidy. Understand? So sometimes government gives scholarship, subsidy. These are all what we call government ka expenditure. One good example, Assam ka context mein now you can think is that 𝗔𝗣𝗦𝗖, where government is giving money to the girl students for their class 11 graduation and post graduation, etc. Okay. So that is what we call subsidy and transfer payment, which includes scholarship, pension, etc. or any grant given by state government to any institution, yeah, any museum or anything. Okay. If state government gives money to somebody freely, matlab some institution, whatever, then it is called grant given by state government. Yeah, state government may give grant to somebody else also, some other state or whatever, that is all what we call grants given by the state government. Clear now? All these come under what type of expenditure? Revenue expenditure. One point I have to tell you, economics subject में या economic theory में revenue expenditure is generally called unproductive. This is generally what we call unproductive. मतलब क्या है? एग्जाम में कभी कभी पूछते हैं, एक यूपीएससी में सवाल आया था, अगर गवर्नमेंट का बजट में शॉर्टेज होता है, मतलब डेफिसिट होता है, तो गवर्नमेंट को क्या करना चाहिए? सिंपल सॉल्यूशन, government should cut down these all the revenue expenditure. So you have to think that way, then it is easy answer to find the correct option. If government has a shortage in budget, no money, what to do? Cut down all this. Why? Because these are unproductive. Clear now? That is the one what we can say trick to solve the question. Now let's go to the capital expenditure. ऑपोजिट ऑफ रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर, जिसमें कैपिटल असेट या प्रॉपर्टी गवर्नमेंट को क्रिएट नहीं होता है, इसमें नहीं होता है. कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर में गवर्नमेंट को नया नया प्रॉपर्टी, नया क्रिएशन होता है. कैसे? सपोज गवर्नमेंट ने 1000 करोड़ खर्चा करके एक कॉलेज बनाया, like 1000 crore government is spending to construct a college. Now what happened? The expenditure of 1000 crore creates a new property. What is that property? Government college. Now that college becomes a property to government. समझ में आ गया? That is why we say capital expenditure creates property या asset to the government. Okay. So now what are the expenditure which comes under capital expenditure? So here we have a acquisition. That means what we can say purchasing, yeah, acquiring assets. That's what I told you, like land, building, yeah, machinery, yeah, any tools, equipment, buses, aeroplanes. When government buys all these kind of things, they are what we call capital expenditure. Clear? Same way, government also, when it invests money in share, that is also what we call capital expenditure. Like just I told you, Assam government has invested money in 𝗣𝗦𝗧 share. Now that purchase of share, it is what type of expenditure? Capital expenditure. Clear? The last one, when government gives loan to anybody, that is also capital expenditure. And when government repays the loan, that is also capital expenditure, though I have not given here. When government repays the loan, that is also capital expenditure. So please keep in mind, when we talk about government ka finance, अर्लियर वी डिस्कस्ड गवर्नमेंट को कहां से पैसा मिलता है. नाउ वी आर डिस्कसिंग गवर्नमेंट का एक्सपेंडिचर कैसे होते हैं, कहां पे होते हैं. सो दिस इज द टू क्लासिफिकेशन, रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर एंड कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर. सो फॉर डिटेल्ड रीडिंग you can pause this video and read this, and if possible write it down, make a note, so that what happens exam ke samay mein it will be very easy for you to give answers. Okay, so now here the question is where the rupee goes. So we have a general services, social services, economic services, public debt, loans and advances, grant in aid. These are all what we call the expenditure of the government, where money is going. Clear now? Okay, now if you compare government ka expenditure, one side we have a revenue expenditure, that is what we find here. Other side we have a capital expenditure. Now which is more? जैसे रिसिप्ट में मैंने बोला था रेवेन्यू रिसिप्ट इज मोर देन कैपिटल, एक्सपेंडिचर में भी देखिए रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर इज मोर देन कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर. क्लियर? सो रेवेन्यू रिसिप्ट इज मोर देन कैपिटल रिसिप्ट एंड रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर इज ऑल्सो मोर देन कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर. क्लियर नाउ? बट वन मोर पॉइंट टू ऐड हियर, अगर हमें असम को डेवलप करना है, what type of expenditure should be made? Actually the answer is we should make more and more capital expenditure. That means what? We have to construct new school, new colleges, hospital, hostels for students, road, electricity, water supply. All this expenditure is called capital expenditure. But if you see, capital expenditure is very, very low. So to develop a state like Assam or any state in the world, we need to spend more money on capital expenditure. समझ में आ गया? So this kind of simple questions, statement based question exam में आ सकता है. For a development of a country, which type of expenditure should be incurred more? It should be capital expenditure. But if you look at our reality, we are spending more on revenue. That means what? Salary, subsidy, पेंशन, इसी में गवर्नमेंट का डिपार्टमेंट को चलाने में इसी में सब पैसा गवर्नमेंट का हो जाता है एक्सपेंडिचर. ओके, नाउ आउट ऑफ क्यूरियोसिटी, इफ यू वांट टू नो असम का लेटेस्ट बजट 24-25 में किस सेक्टर में या किस एरिया में गवर्नमेंट ने ज्यादा खर्चा किया, राइट? वेयर द गवर्नमेंट इज स्पेंडिंग मोर. सो देयर यू विल फाइंड एडुकेशन, स्पोर्ट्स, आर्ट एंड कल्चर में गवर्नमेंट इज स्पेंडिंग 23,227 crore. That is the highest figure given by Assam government. Then health and family welfare 8,000 crore. Water supply sanitation में again 8,000 crore. Social welfare and nutrition 11,000 crore. Then agriculture में 6,000 crore. But the maximum is in education, sports, art and culture. Clear? So that is where government is spending. I have kept the further details also. Okay, so along with the video I will also give this PPT so you can have a look at it. Okay, now coming to the another topic related to the finance, that is what we call fiscal deficit. What is the fiscal deficit? If government का total expenditure is more than government का total receipt या income, that shortage is what we call deficit. This deficit can be called fiscal deficit. Now fiscal deficit is always estimated as a percentage of national income. State level में when we say it is the state का GDP, that is what we call GSDP, gross state domestic product. So if you look at the Assam government's fiscal deficit in 2022-23, it was about 6.12. 2022-23 it was 6.12% of state ka GDP. It is quite high. Their target is 3.5%, but it is gone more than that. So if you see here, during 23-24, the gross fiscal deficit crossed the prescribed limit of 3.5% of state ka GDP. So earlier also it was more, now also they said it is already beyond the limit. That means what? Government is now borrowing more money. So the question is, why are they borrowing more money? Assam government kya bolte hain? They are borrowing money for capital expenditure. That means for development expenditure. Okay. So that way it may be justified by the government. Another concept related to finance budget of government is what we call debt to GDP ratio. That means what? How much is the money borrowed by government as a percentage of Assam ka GDP? That is called a debt to GDP ratio. इसको बोलते हैं debt to GDP ratio. अभी debt to GDP ratio देखिए, असम गवर्नमेंट का debt to GDP ratio कितना है? 24.48%. That is 2023-24 last year का estimate. This year का still going on. Okay, so this data is not yet available. Anyway, so 24.48 it seems to be rather high. लेकिन असम गवर्नमेंट क्या बोलते हैं? So if you look at their publication, Assam government says that the debt to GDP ratio is within the prescribed limit of 32% of Assam ka GDP. So the limit is 32%, whereas Assam ka actual debt to GDP is about 24. So Assam government bolte hain this is within our limit. Clear? तो एग्जाम में ऐसा क्वेश्चंस अगर पूछा जाता है, so you should be familiar. There are only two topics which are sometimes asked in exam. One is the fiscal deficit, other one is the debt to GDP ratio of the state government. Clear? Now in this context we are asking a question, can the state government borrow money outside the state? Yeah, outside India. So put the question properly. Can the state government borrow money outside the country? Okay, that is the question. So if you look at it here, Article 292 of the Constitution of India, इस article में क्या होता है? According to 292, only the central government can borrow inside India and outside India. Like we take a loan from World Bank for some bridge construction, agricultural development. Question is, can Assam government take the loan from World Bank? Answer is no, they cannot take. So exam mein don't make mistake. We cannot directly take, but we have to go through the central government to take the loan. That is the point. So Constitution, okay, that is Article 293 says that the state government can borrow only from domestic sources. What do you mean by domestic sources? Within our country. So center can borrow inside and outside India, but state can borrow only inside India. That is the point. Clear now? Okay. One more point adding here. Suppose state government ने already central government से कुछ loan ले लिया, उसको रीपे करने का थोड़ा रह गया, फिर अभी स्टेट सोचते हैं उनको और भी थोड़ा लोन चाहिए फॉर सम डेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट. सो कैन दे टेक अ लोन फ्रॉम एनीवेयर जस्ट लाइक दैट? आंसर इज नो. इफ द स्टेट ऑलरेडी टेकन अ लोन फ्रॉम सेंटर, स्टेट को और भी लोन चाहिए, इस समय में स्टेट हैज टू टेक द परमिशन ऑफ सेंटर. दैट इज व्हाट इज गिवन इन आर्टिकल इन द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, Article 293 point number 3. Clear? So if the state has a outstanding borrowing from center and it is required to obtain central government ka approval before it takes further loan from any other source. Okay, so mostly Assam government का जो डेप्ट है या डेफिसिट है उसको वो लोग कहाँ से बोरो करके मैनेज करते हैं? So basically currently if you look at it, they are mostly taking a borrowing money from where? From the market. Yeah, they sometimes earlier used to borrow from NSSF, okay, and loans from financial institution, and also they take loans from central government. But this NSSF now has been reduced, okay. They are not borrowing much of it now, okay, because that 14 FC said they should not borrow much from the National Small Savings Fund, okay. They are not supposed to borrow. Clear? Now coming to one last point here, just a brief idea. If you have studied central government ka fiscal policy, etc., there you must have heard there is something called consolidated fund, contingency fund and public account. वैसा ही असम में असम गवर्नमेंट का भी we have consolidated fund, we have a contingency fund and we have public account, right? I repeat, जैसा सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का ऑल इंडिया लेवल में we have a consolidated fund, contingency fund, public account, वैसा ही स्टेट में असम में we have consolidated fund, contingency fund and public account. Okay, so consolidated fund is where all the money received by Assam government is deposited and all expenditure of Assam government is paid from consolidated fund. Contingency fund is a emergency fund. In case of emergency, they will take money from the contingency fund when the assembly is absent or cannot be called, okay, in that situation. Public account is where people ka contribution like small saving certificates of the people, yeah, any reserve fund, etc., which are kept by the government in public account. Okay, so these are the three basic accounts. Now one current affair topic for you, it came in the news 2022. After COVID, both the central government and state governments, उन्होंने क्या किया, उनका ये जो कंटिंजेंसी फंड है उसमें पहले जो पैसे गवर्नमेंट ने रखा था, गवर्नमेंट के लोग तो ये जो पैसा है बहुत कम है, तो गवर्नमेंट ने क्या किया, कंटिंजेंसी फंड का कॉर्पस मतलब टोटल मनी उसको बढ़ा दिया. तो असम में हमने कितना बढ़ाया? सो इफ यू लुक एट इट हियर, in 2022 after the COVID, Assam government passed the bill for what? To increase the corpus of the contingency fund from earlier 200 crore, now they have increased it to 2000 crore. So Assam का contingency fund में कितना पैसा है? Answer is 2000 crore is kept by the Assam government in the contingency fund, which will be used in case of some emergency. Though the opposition party wanted it to be 5000 crore, but the government has kept it at 2000 crore. Earlier it was very small, only 200 crore. Clear? So now this is the very interesting discussion on what we can say Assam finances, या Assam government का budget. So today we tried to discuss असम गवर्नमेंट को रेवेन्यू कहाँ से मिलता है, व्हाट आर द सोर्सेस, व्हाट आर द स्टेट का टैक्सेस, व्हाट आर द नॉन टैक्सेस, व्हाट आर द शेयर फ्रॉम सेंट्रल टैक्सेस एंड व्हाट आर द ग्रांट्स. कैपिटल रिसिप्ट we discussed, that is the loans taken and loan recovered. Then we discussed the expenditure. If expenditure is more, income is less, it leads to deficit, borrowing and the debt. So these are the major things to understand the budget that we discussed today. And in the upcoming classes, I will also one day take the MCQ, some of these questions which are relevant from exam point of view. So now more topics to follow, like now soon we will be discussing about the Assam ka state GDP, state ka per capita income, Assam ka poverty, Assam ka unemployment. You know, there are more topics that we will be discussing soon. So keep following our video, and if you have any query, you can contact us 8638391721 or visit our website. Okay, so keep following our videos. We will meet you soon. We are going to discuss Assam ka GDP, Assam per capita, poverty, human development, unemployment. These discussions are coming very soon. Thank you. We will keep a track of that.